Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Phil Giraldi joins us now. Phil, a pleasure, my dear friend. As we speak, Hamas negotiators are meeting in Cairo with Ron Dermer, the American-born Israeli negotiator, and with America's two non-Senate confirmed representatives, Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Before the last scheduled meeting in Doha, the Netanyahu regime, including Mr. Dermer, attempted to murder the very same negotiators who were in Cairo. Who in their right mind would negotiate with the Israelis after that?
Well, I think to a certain extent, the negotiations are a bit of a show. Hamas understands what exactly you just said, and they are not going to be fooled about what's going on. But they feel that, I would imagine, they feel that for the public relations aspect of negotiations, they have to go through with it because they have a great deal of support worldwide now. And it's not a good time for them to maybe look like they're pulling the plug. And I know all the participants that have been on your program feel this is a farce and that it's all about Israel and Israel being supported by their slave, which is our President Donald J. Trump, who will do anything to accommodate Netanyahu. And this can only get worse. And if Hamas disarms themselves, if they turn over all of these hostages, they no longer have any leverage or any means of protecting themselves. So they know all this.
Why would Trump even expect? Well, I can't expect you to answer. Why would Trump expect? The president's thought processes are, I'll be charitable, unique to himself. But who would imagine that they would surrender all the leverage they have, which is the hostages and their arms, and place themselves at the tender mercies of Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, nobody would believe that because, after all, the United States was involved in the negotiation of settlements of one kind or another in Lebanon and in Syria in the not too distant past. And in all those cases, both those cases, Israel was the one that basically broke the terms and started attacking Hezbollah and attacking the Syrians. And they're still doing that to this day. And the last time that Trump and his so-called negotiators got together to propose a ceasefire, it was Israel again that broke the ceasefire, claiming that Hamas was breaking the terms, which was not true. So Israel, Netanyahu is I'll give Netanyahu credit for one thing. He's a total liar, but he occasionally tells the truth when he's telling you something horrific. And there's been plenty of that in the past week. Here we have Trump negotiating his silly little peace agreement, and he says, "Oh, it would be a good, kind of gesture to stop the bombing and everything while the final negotiation is going on." And Netanyahu basically ignored him, said, "Basically, go to hell." And Netanyahu also, as I know you've been discussing on your program, declared that he's fighting 7 wars, and there's the 8th war. The 8th war is to overturn the worsening public opinion in the United States about Israel. So we have Israeli friends in Washington, in the United States, a trillionaire and billionaires buying up every media outlet that they can possibly get. We're losing not only free speech, we're losing even the ability to get out and do free speech.
Chris just sent me a distressing post from Sky News. I'm going to read it literally. Hamas can't immediately release bodies of dead hostages because they don't know where they are. Hamas can release living hostages it holds within 48 hours, but it can't release the bodies of those that have died within that time frame, a source with access to the group and the U.S. administration has said. The source said that's because Hamas doesn't know where they are. Some Hamas officials knew where they were, but those officials have been killed by the Israelis, so nobody knows where they are. They have to search for them. But the source added that the inability to immediately find the bodies wouldn't be an issue for Donald Trump. Ceasefire deal could be signed as early as tomorrow, meaning Thursday, as hostage and prisoner swap lists exchanged. Significant progress has been made after 3 days of Gaza ceasefire talks in Egypt, sources have told Sky News. Meanwhile, Hamas says lists of hostages and prisoners have been exchanged as part of the potential swap deal. It's not well written, it's repetitive, but it's profound if accurate.
Well, I really love the language there from whoever edited that article. I mean, the fact is, obviously, a lot of these so-called hostages were killed by Israeli bombs. And why don't you say that in the article?
Right.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, the propaganda that is around protecting Israel and Netanyahu like a bubble is just incredible, and it's only getting worse. And this is what drove me nuts this week. I said, here we have Netanyahu, who has had what was the total that came up today? $35 billion we've been giving them for their war, and he declares that the United States is basically his eighth enemy, because we have to get rid of the things that he doesn't like free speech. And here we have that clown, that idiot, Donald Trump, sitting in the White House. He doesn't respond to that. He doesn't defend the rights, the liberties of his own people. I guess he's too busy sending the army and his stormtroopers into American cities to beat up American citizens.
The federal judge in Portland, name escaping me, but she was appointed by President Trump in his first term, found that the presence of soldiers at free speech rallies would be chilling free speech. So obviously the government and the military couldn't care less about free speech. The soldiers themselves probably could, but Trump and Hegseth obviously don't. Hegseth is more worried about the size of the waistline on generals, and Trump encouraged the same generals, you wrote about this, Phil, to practice in the streets of America. Practice what? Killing people?
Well, and I'm delighted, of course, to hear that Donald Trump is thinking of the Insurrection Act, because obviously anybody like me or you or about hundreds of people that I know personally are critics of what Donald Trump is doing, and we basically don't like what he's doing. So eventually, this is going to turn around where they're going to be coming after us too. This is so disgusting. I lose words even to describe it.
Yeah.
It's I want to see the American people really get up on their hind legs and start expressing themselves in numbers and in places where they won't be able to suppress us.
The judge to whom I referred is named Karen, Karin Immergut. She wrote a 31-page treatise on federalism and the First Amendment. The essence of her ruling is that health, safety, welfare, and morality were never ceded away by the states and are reserved by the 10th Amendment. Public safety is not a federal function. And then she made this great argument about the presence of military troops chilling free speech. And then she said, civil disobedience is as American as apple pie.
Beautiful.
Right. I mean, to hear a federal judge say this about freedom of speech and its integral part in our history, even if it means disobeying the orders of politicians, was deeply, deeply, and profoundly moving to me. Back to Israel. Isn't it the official policy of the Netanyahu government that all Palestinians are terrorists and therefore are legitimate military targets, even babies?
Yeah, in fact, President Katz a couple of days ago made that statement. He said that they were all considered to be terrorists, and these are the arguments. Of course, we see trotted out all the time in the United States too, where in to justify some of the anti-Semitism legislation, we always they always couch it in terms of this is anti-terrorist because anyone who criticizes Israel is committing a hate crime and is therefore a terrorist. So this stuff just goes on and on and on. And since we have a group of people in the White House and closely associated with it who have IQs that are around the 60 range, nobody is ever saying anything contrary. They're all more interested in the payoffs they're going to be getting from the trillionaire and the billionaires in the Israel lobby, and they're more interested in that kind of thing than they are in doing what's right for the country they come from and which elected them or appointed them to these high offices.
Well, Netanyahu says Palestinians are raised to hate and kill Jews. And Max Blumenthal says young Jewish children have that indoctrinated in them from their earliest days. Well, that's nothing new to you and me because we were both came of age with that mentality in the United States amongst Jewish Americans. When Trump was before his generals, he not only, I know you watched the speech because I read what you wrote about it, he not only said, go ahead and practice in the American streets, he pleaded for two things. He pleaded for the Nobel Peace Prize, dead silence. He pleaded for applause twice, dead silence. How do you read that?
Well, it's what's in his head. There's basically a lot of room in his head, but the fact is this is the stuff he comes out with. He feels it's some kind of vindication that he get a Nobel Peace Prize, and yet he's been the driving force for the two major wars that have been going on for the last couple of years. I mean, this is just incredible, and this shows you that we have someone who's not only mentally kind of skewed, he might be over the line, going a long ways beyond that. And this is kind of scary stuff. And it's just that we are all going to be the victims of this. Our country is what is going to pay the consequences of the horrific things that have been happening, with Joe Biden and now with Donald Trump, where we've become proxies for the most evil country in the world. And I won't name that.
Right.
And, this is not good. This is not what the founders had in mind when they created our nation. They had a nation where the liberties were the essential component, not being able to send stormtroopers into your house and beat the hell out of you.
Well, apparently, I just picked this up a few minutes ago. Netanyahu called President Putin yesterday on the October 7th, the anniversary of the Hamas breakout, to ask President Putin not to sell arms to Iran. Fat chance of that conversation being successful.
Incredible. Well, it's no doubt a sign of the hubris of Netanyahu. He's willing to play any card, and he doesn't care who dies in the process or what happens in the process. He doesn't care if the United States goes down the toilet as long as I think one Israeli prime minister said something. The United States exists there to be bled dry, and then after it's bled dry, we just kind of throw it away. That's where we're heading, and but as I say, Netanyahu has the brass to even try that one out on Putin. Putin's a little bit too smart.
The Nobel Peace Prize will be announced this Friday, October 10th, at 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. I wonder if Trump will stay up all night.
Well, I tell you, I would get up to see it.
Yeah, I don't know of what the announcement consists. If they call the person who won, or if they just issue a press release. I know we're making light of this because it's so absurd, especially when you consider who nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, I understand there could be more than one nomination, but the only person who boasted about the nomination was Netanyahu himself.
Yeah, and I think I read that somebody, Pakistani prime minister or president, one of the two of them, for God knows what reason, also named Trump. And then there was somebody like from Samoa or something like that, which of course is a U.S. dependency, who also nominated him. So he's got quite a backup cheering for him. And of course we're also hearing a lot of stuff now about how Trump is gearing himself up to run again in 2026. So
28, you mean?
I'm sorry, 28. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that would be consistent with his understanding of other parts of the Constitution as well, which is he can just avoid them. Why was there no mention of the West Bank in the 20 or 21 point agreement? By the way, 20 and 21 is rather significant. The Arab League signed off on 21. After Ron Dermer rewrote it, it was 20. So we're not sure what was removed, but obviously something was. But whatever, there's no mention of the West Bank in there. They've de facto annexed it already, but the agreement is silent.
Well, I think I've read, now I don't know how reliable the information is, that the 21 thing was actually referring to Israel would make no attempt to annex the West Bank. And of course, this was interesting because Trump also said we will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. And but the fact is, of course, Israel has de facto basically already annexed the West Bank, and that they control all the roads, they control all the water, they are destroying the agricultural land that Palestinians have, and it's a de facto. It's just a question of, like they did with Syria, where they annexed areas and nobody gave a poop. And that's the same thing that's going to happen here. If Israel remains dominant and has the suppression of the Palestinians well accomplished thanks to our Mr. Trump, they will do what they want to do. The problem with a guy like Netanyahu is I think he believes that he can get away with anything. Just as Trump said, he believes that he's empowered to do whatever he wants. But Netanyahu, who is smarter than Trump, really believes this. And so he's going to do whatever it takes to take Iran out of the game with the help of the United States. He's going to gradually take over the Palestinian areas by either killing or exporting the Palestinian people. And my big fear is that down the road, Netanyahu is a guy, if he gets in too much of a bind, he'll use his nuclear weapons. That's the really scary one.
Chris informs me, let me open this up, on these nominations, that Trump has 3 known nominations. Buddy Carter, I don't know who the hell that is, the government of Colombia, and Netanyahu. Also nominated are Elon Musk, are you ready for this? The children of Gaza. Good Lord, the children of Gaza.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Those who have suffered the most. That would be very, very, very telling to Trump and his principal nominator, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah. Well, it's like the comment you made before about, how many of these poor Palestinian kids are still buried under that rubble in Gaza. And we'll never know how many of them actually died. A lot of them that will be decomposed or their bodies will be destroyed when our good old Jared Kushner goes in to build the Trump resort.
Yeah.
They're going to have to bring in bulldozers. I mean, they'll destroy all the remains. But this is the most horrific thing to happen in this world to a certain extent since the Second World War.
I don't know if you watched our interview with Aaron Mate, but he points out, excuse me, that this 20-point plan provides for the immediate introduction of food, water, and medicine, which of course is a tacit recognition that the Israelis have been blocking it, and that the so-called Israeli-American orchestrated humanitarian fund has been a farce.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing has been a fraud right from the beginning. And Netanyahu does what he wants to do. He gets away with it. And he gets away with it because of support of people like our two presidents, our two most recent presidents.
Right. Phil, thank you very much, my dear friend. Always a pleasure, no matter what we talk about. All the best to you, best to Angela, best to Rupert, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me on.
Of course. Bye-bye, my friend. Coming up tomorrow, Thursday at 1 o'clock from somewhere in China, Pepe Escobar. At 2 o'clock, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. At 3 o'clock, Professor John Mearsheimer, Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.